miles all around. A few more chances to fall victim
to ties that bind me.
I move without a sound. Another act of desperation
To try and find me. Another demon infiltrates my soul to darken my life, searching for a sign, destiny untold. I'm flying blind through all the wrong and all the right that I have come to make. Resides a foundation that will decide my Another demon infiltrates my soul to darken my life, searching for a sign, destiny untold. I'm flying blind. Ooh, come fly with me. I'm flying.
Give it a nice wave.
I'm so damn sick of your politics. Dressing cool and trying to stay relevant. I'm just a man, but my palace still stands.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? My name is Eric, and on the line with me today is Ashton. I don't know
Hello.
if you can hear me. That's cool. You can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Weird. Why all of a sudden you can hear me and I'm still playing the music. But hey, whatever. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Rejects Club preview. As you know, or maybe you don't know, this coming week starting of showing all of these episodes that a lot of people have been waiting to see. But not only that, but we're also going to be. I can hear myself now. We're also going to be. Wow, my computer's running so slow right now. Love it. I love how slow my computer is running. It's awesome. I'm just going to close a couple things down here, and that way it'll run a bit faster, and then that way I won't have that problem like we had right along. So anyway, again, my name is Eric. That's Ashton, and today we are going to actually discuss a lot about the behind-the-scenes kind of stuff when it comes to filming the Rejects Club. A lot of memories, a lot of things that we are going to remember about filming. On this particular episode, we're going to talk a lot more about the pilot episode because that is actually going to be shown for the very first time in public in its entirety on Monday night, April 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to actually show the whole pilot episode so everybody have an opportunity to be able to finally see it. It's been a long time. It's been over a year since the cast and crew since we had the preview. Ashton, if you remember remember back to when we did the pilot episode premiere, it was a lot of fun, a lot of good times, a lot of people, and a lot of really good compliments and a lot of good conversations. So that was very cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. And it was weird seeing something that I worked on like this huge screen. And of course, I'm not used to this sort of thing. So I guess it really meant a lot to me this time around.
Right. Yeah, and it is kind of weird. I know a lot of people, one of the main things that they will say is how odd it is to see their name up onto a screen, as
Yeah,
somebody who's worked on it. So I can imagine that it's got to be kind of weird for you.
Exactly. Especially when like seeing like famous people's names on at the end of credits. It's weird seeing someone like just like you on there.
Right.
There's just a huge difference.
Yeah, I
And
remember like once upon a time I wanted to be an actor, and I worked on a TV show called Family Matters, and and I knew when the episode was coming out, and everything. So it was kind of like as it was, the time was coming up. Uh, Obviously I was still living on the West Coast. So actually, what ended up happening was that the East Coast saw it first. So I literally was on the phone with my father, as a matter of fact, and as he was watching the episode, and he's like, "Oh, there you are. Oh, see you again." Being in background, so it was like, he's kind of. But I actually was in that episode quite a bit, um, where you actually could see me very well. Most of the time that I was on screen, there was like one time like I just walked like right in front of the camera, kind of thing. But there was especially like right towards the end, I was right there at the end where you could really see me. Just kind of standing right there, and my dad. So much so, my dad's even like, "What is that face you just made?" And I had no idea what he was talking about because I hadn't seen it yet, and I was like, "I don't know." And then when I saw it, what I realized was that myself and the guy that I was talking to during the actual filming, we got into a whole blown, like, we're filming in front of a live studio audience. I mean, that's no joke. It's a full blown studio audience sitting there watching you, and he and I through the whole filming, we were just talking about something. I don't even know what it was, but we were like literally talked about I don't even know what. And at that part in time, we were actually supposed to just be like quiet and paying attention, and we were still talking. And so I did like this, oh my god, kind of a thing. And yeah, it was supposed to be like a real serious, scene that was happening, and I'm sitting there back there like basically having a full blown conversation. So but yeah, it is weird to see that. So welcome to those you might be watching wherever you happen to be watching, whether if you're on my personal Facebook page, whether if you are on the Rejects Club Facebook page, or if you're on the Rejects Club YouTube channel. Welcome to you. Come on in, have a conversation, and I can see you speaking if whichever place that you happen to be watching. I can see you, so come on in. I might not respond completely quickly, but we'll do the best that we can. So come on in and say hello through it. Now, when it comes to when we filmed, especially the pilot episode of Rejects, at this point in time, I had worked on a couple films, or one film with Ryan Manley, and so I kind of already gotten that on set feel and everything. But this was a lot different, being like somebody who helped create, write, find all the actors, put the whole thing together, get the locations, get everything kind of all wrapped up in a nice bow and ready to actually start filming. It was a lot different in the sense that like literally, I was scared to death because I never directed anything of that magnitude. I've never done anything like that in terms of myself. You know, I've been
yeah,
a part of it, but I've never done it and put it all together myself. So I learned a lot. When it came to that, and thank God I have some really good friends who allowed us to film at their houses. Finding somebody who got us to be able to film at a school and things like that. And it's all the credit to them for allowing that to happen. I mean, I'm sitting there just going, I remember writing the script, sitting there just going, okay, so we're going to be doing this at a school, so we need to find a school. How in the hell are we going to find a school? And but we'll figure that out later. And and it was really just we write something out with the thoughts that okay, at some point in time, this is going to have to become a reality if we actually want to film it. And as such, it was wild to think, how in the world am I going to pull this off? And hey, Keeson, and thank God I met some of the people that I met along the way, because literally none of this would have happened. None of it. We would have had nothing. We would have I don't know, we would have done something, but we would have had nothing because we tried to go to our local high school where Madison goes to high school, and they were like instantly like, no, you're not filming on our campus at all. And I was like, really? Like, not even if it's a student project? I mean, we tried to make up every excuse we possibly could, and it was like, no. We went all the way up to like the county level to try to get people who would allow us to go to film at a different school, and like Forsyth County said no. There's like, we're not having it. We're not. I was like, okay, well that sucks. Okay, well we'll figure that one out later. So then, like I said, met some people. Like I met Jody Key. Jody Key, even though she ultimately didn't take part in the whole project, she was there at the very beginning of the project, and that was actually really important because she introduced us to two people that were extremely, extremely important to the overall process. Everybody else I pretty much was able to find through whatever means. I put a call out for crew. So somebody like Justin came on originally. He was going to be the script supervisor, and then I ended up needing a director of photography. So he, said that he would be interested in doing the director of photography, and he had already done a ton of work as a script supervisor, and everything. And so I was like, oh man, you've already got all of this done, but I do need a director of photography, somebody who could actually like take charge of the camera stuff. And, that way I don't have to worry about that. So I was like, all right, well, we could do that. And then I ended up finding Angelica, or we call her Angel. We found Angel, and she was like our Angel. She was awesome. And so Justin worked through it with her on his stuff that he put together for it. And then she kind of picked up, and then she ended up being the script supervisor throughout the rest of the production. And that was great because she was awesome. Justin did a great job doing the director for photography stuff for us. So those were two solid positions that we had. Then kind of going along, we had the filming taken care of. We had the somebody who's going to pay attention to the script to make sure that we're going good. Then we had to find somebody who could do the boom and the audio, and that's where Ashton came in. I don't even know how, to be perfectly honest, Ashton, at this juncture, I don't even know how you came on board. I really have no clue. I have a assumption that has to do with Madison, because I can only assume that she mentioned it to you, or she asked you, or something. I don't really know. Maybe you can shed a light on how you got brought in, because I really don't remember.
All right. Well, it's actually a pretty funny story. I work. Well, sorry. Sorry, I need to put my words together. So basically, what happened was, I'm taking part of my school's AV program, and there was actually not a poster, but there was a page where like you could rip off little tabs on it, and it was actually for the Rejects Club. It's saying, hey, we needed an editor, we need a boom mic operator, and I was like, you know what, that would be pretty interesting to try out, because like I've never even held a boom mic before in my life, so I thought that would be pretty cool. So I signed up for everything, and that's kind of how it happened.
Now that you say that, I remember the thing. I remember Madison. I remember printing out the pages for her to take to school and post it up around the school. So now I do remember. I don't remember the first conversations with you, anything like that, but I do remember the posters that we made up to put around the school for that. So thank you for that reminder. So that was cool. So we had Ashton in place to do boom, and then as far as recording. We made a major mistake when we filmed the pilot episode of Rejects. We actually plugged the boom mic directly into the camera, and that was a complete mistake, because it worked, but it didn't work as well as it should have, based on how we've done it with more up-to-date features that we've done. Now we've kind of gotten more on the line with what other indie films and TVs and stuff do, which is use a Zoom recorder, or straight to a computer, whatever. But, we got more in line with what we actually needed to do there. But when we shot the pilot, we directly plugged into the camera. Huge mistake. Don't do that. Huge mistake. I mean, it made it easier for the fact when we edited, the sound was always lined up. You didn't have to worry about lining up the two different, the video and the audio synced. It was already synced, but the sound quality was terrible. I mean, when we watch back the pilot, the sound quality is definitely not nearly as good as what we had, with our more recent stuff. So, hey, lesson learned. Again, this was new to all of us. So, but it was still better than, when we used for the film that we did, we just used the camera audio and had no boom. So it was actually still better, but not by a lot. To be honest, it became more of a hassle and a challenge because like we had to clean a lot of it up, had some hum and buzz to it, and this type of thing, and and Ashton will know very well because Ashton, as he kind of said, he ended up being our editor. For the majority of the shoot, so he is on the understanding of how much that sucks. I mean, color correction is color correction, but audio correction, whew, that is way more challenging to me, I think, because
Definitely.
color correction. I mean, look, ultimately, yes, it's needed. It is very important. Don't get me wrong, but the audio portion is way more challenging. So, and it's one of those things. Like I said, I say all the time that thank God for people like Ashton who are willing to sit down and do editing because one, I hate it. I
Me
really
too.
do. I am not a fan of editing at all. I can do it. I did it for Comfortless. I didn't like it, but I can do it. But it was just not for me. So again, kudos to somebody like Ashton again, who I don't want to say likes it, but may enjoy the challenge of the editing a little bit more than
You
I
just
do.
need someone who can tolerate it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, but again, like thinking back to when we did film, when we did film this show, I think back to our very first day that we filmed, and oddly enough, our first scene that we filmed was like scene 11. So I mean, if you have ever filmed something, you do know, at least in a general sense, that you don't necessarily film in order. So our very first shot that we did, we filmed. It was scene 11, so it was so far into the episode. It was like if you have a 40-minute episode, it was like minute 32 or something like that. So it was really close to the end. So that it was, again, that's just how filming goes, and it was based off of location. So we just, we filmed that first, um, and so as such, I figured since we're here and I'm gonna give this a good roll and see if it'll work. But I want to show you guys what it was actually like. The very first shot that we did. This is the very first thing that we filmed. It's take one. It is raw. It is whatever. It's I don't want to say embarrassing. It's just it's a first shot kind of a thing. So much so that and I believe it was Ryan who was doing the clapper, and I don't know if it was just because he was so used to it from being director on Comfortless or whatever, but he when he does the clapper, you'll hear him. He'll say the scene number, take number, action, clap in action, and it's like, and then you'll see Rylan come around the corner really quick. There's no action from the director. That's the idea. The director says action, and that's basically when everything is ready to go. But again, that was just because of that. But anyway, you'll see what I mean. But this is the very first anything that we did when it came to filming the Rejects Club. So check this out.
Right. Camera speeding.
The funny thing is, you can see it says scene 21. That's not the scene number at all. The scene is actually like it's not. It wasn't the right. It was just we were a mess.
Quiet on set. Quiet on set. Ready? Sorry. Scene 21, take one, action.
So you can see there, one the angle of the camera, everything. I mean, just it was way up on them. It was kind of a mess. It was not pretty, right, Ashton?
No, not at all. Especially with me, I had to since I was operating the boom mic, I had to stand behind the camera, so I kind of had to move faster, but also hold the boom mic as steady as I could.
Yes, and it's one thing in any of these clips, especially because you're going to see the clapper, you're going to see the whole thing. But in these clips, you're going to notice or you're going to hear a lot of Ashton moving the boom mic around because that's just what happens like when you're getting everything prepared. Hence why the director yells action because he gets the clarification that everything is good, everything is quiet, everything is in its proper positioning. That's when you yell action, and the person who does the clapper can't see that. But here's a little bit more of how the scene ended up at the end.
All right. Camera is set. Scene 21. Take 1.
Quiet on set. Action. So you can see the camera went out of focus a little bit at the end, but that's okay because that's what happens, and that's why you use different angles and different things. And actually, we cut to a different angle in the actual take, well before he actually got really that much closer. Like when it started going out of focus is when we switched angles, so you never see that out of focus type of a thing. So, just give you a little idea of what that was like. That was, what we did. That was the first shots of the episode, and then, again, thank you to Renee Dickey and her whole family for allowing us to go in there and film in their house. I know that's a really big deal for people to allow you to film in your home. But their family did. It was amazing. They were amazing people, and and everything. The bedroom that we used, which is where what Rylan was walking into, was actually their son Jared's room. And Jared's room, when we first walked into it, was very clean. It was very well put together. And there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, everybody wishes they had that clean of a room. Trust me, I guarantee it. But the character Jace, that's his bedroom, was not a clean person like that. So we had to mess the room up. There was no posters on the wall. There was no nothing. So we went and we printed out some posters and we messed up the bed. We threw clothes all over the floor. We had to take out like some stuff that just wasn't working that Jared had in his room. And we basically had to make it Jace's room. So, part of the process is set design. Again, in most regular film, big budgets, you have people who do that for you. But in indie world, or at least in our world, we basically had to kind of do it ourselves. So, we were going in there and, and actually in that scene, and we made another mistake during filming that, it worked out. We got it to work out, but, again, now knowing more of what we know now compared to back then, Ashton, do you have any idea what I'm referring to?
Is it the boom mic shadow?
No, well, that's an obvious. I mean, that one you have to do.
Sure.
But a major mistake that we made had to do with when Jace was playing the video game.
Oh, was it that how when he was playing, he wasn't actually playing anything and there was no audio coming from it?
Well, no, actually, we had the audio. That was the mistake, is that we had the audio playing from it.
Right.
Because
oh yeah.
And basically what happens is when you're filming, like we're filming outside of the room, and and Rylan is there and he knocks on the door as Jackson. He knocks on the door, and then he has to come in and he has to open it. Well, then Jace has to, he's playing this video game. So for continuity purposes, now luckily it was a shoot 'em up game, so it was actually the continuity part of it was not that difficult to do. But because of the, trying to keep the continuity, what we shouldn't have done was had no audio going. Plus, we had to have their voices talk over that, so you can't control that either because the boom mic is picking up the audio from the TV itself. So again, another little film tip: when you're doing film, don't have any sound coming from a TV, as an example. We did that with in Ryan's last film, To Bloom at Night. We had a party scene, and imagine having a party scene where there's no music playing, and yet these kids have to dance and move around to music that's supposed to be happening, that when you actually watch the movie, the music is actually playing. So it was just no music. They were just dancing and and stuff, and Yeah, so that's all challenges of acting and and part of production that you is really stuff that a lot of people don't realize is that whenever you put stuff like that together, you have to do it in such a way to where you have to fake it. So in this particular case, it would have actually been way more smart of us to not have any sound coming from said video game and just had it start over and over again from the same spot. That way, and then we didn't show the video game at all. Like we didn't show any of the footage of the video game, and plus it was off of YouTube if I remember correctly. I think we just found a YouTube video.
Yeah, it
and,
was.
and that's what he was playing. Just to get the light flickering and that type of thing. Whenever it came to showing Jace playing the video game, we need to do that light and that stuff coming off of his face as he was talking to Jackson through the door. So, again, these are filming type of things that are kind of cool to know. And, again, back then I was like, all right, well, let's just find a video game. We'll just start from the same spot every time. But, it was the dumbest thing that we ever did. We should have just, which we learned when we did, we had a couple times in I think once in the Jackson episode and once in the Jace episode, they were playing video games on this prequel series. And we didn't have them actually we didn't have them. There was no vocal there of video games. We just added it in later, so that worked out. So yeah, there's things that you learn, things that you kind of go through over the course of time and everything. But still, it was cool. It was fun. And then once we finished that, we had to go outside. We had to start filming some of the outside stuff, which was actually now moving away from scene 11 because scene 11 was done. We had to move to the opening sequence stuff. So, which was at the very beginning of the episode, is whenever Jackson or Maybelle comes up to Jackson and Jason's house, and they, she basically is picking them up to walk to school. And when we filmed it, the audio, again, because we had so much audio problems in post production, especially because we were plugged directly into the camera, we actually had to refilm that. There was a couple of scenes that we had to refilm throughout the course of the pilot episode. That was one of them. The very opening sequence, when you see in the very beginning, it was a really nice shot. It was at the very front of Renee's house. It was really nice. I loved it. But just again, the audio was just so much of a challenge. And we ended up when we refilmed it, it was right around Christmas time, or more around Christmas time. And so they had all the Christmas decorations up, and this is supposed to be at the beginning of the school year, so that just made no sense whatsoever. So we ended up, for the refilm, we had to move it to the side of the house. So the actual, what you saw in the actual episode, what you will see coming on Monday is a shot on the side of the house as opposed to the front of the house, because they had all the Christmas decorations up and we weren't going to ask them to take that down. They were being nice enough to allow us to come back and refilm stuff that we already filmed. Ones weren't going to just say, hey, do you mind if we take all your Christmas decorations down and and so we can refilm this? It was just too much, so we were like, no, we can just do it off to the side, which there was very little Christmas decorations off there, and it still worked out. It was fine. So it wasn't at the end of the world. Then we had to move down the road. We had to film down another person's house for more of this opening sequence, and one of the funniest parts was because Zach, who played Clay, had to drive the truck. You remember this, Ashton, when he had to drive the truck through the neighborhood? So he has to, he drives the truck through the neighborhood. So, it's not a closed set. This is like a real neighborhood. This is like, hey, Doug, this is like a real neighborhood, and whatnot. And so, Zach got into the truck and he sped it around. He sped it around through the cul-de-sac, and he had turned, and he, would drive up to what was Natalie's house. And so, oddly enough, and very funny enough, is that as he's doing this, one of the guys, he doesn't know what we're doing. He sees the cameras and stuff, but he doesn't care. It's his neighborhood, and everything. He being protective of it. And hey, Robert, Tony, how are you guys? Robert said he'll never forget that day. And so he was, he's kind of wasn't speeding, but he was going a little bit faster than he probably should have, and going around and making the tires squeal and things like that. and like legitimately this guy comes out of his house yelling at us, and we were actually done. Like we filmed the last part of that we needed to film, thank God, because we had to do it again. I think that guy would have had a heart attack, probably called the cops on us or something, but whatever, we were done. So we're like, all right, sir, we apologize, we're sorry, we're done with that part anyways. And then then we had to move over to Natalie's house, and he had to go and start. So instead of him doing the whole drive around, we just had him start at the one point, so that way we could, in post and editing, we can actually connect those two things up and make it work. So the challenges of filming can be so funny at times, because especially because filming in indie world is so much different than filming in when you're on a big budget and they can close things down and kind of almost do whatever you want to do, as long as you have the proper permits and such. And we were just out there filming, like, and yes, we had permission to film at these people's houses and in front of them and things like that, but nobody knows what we're doing. We're just kind of rolling through. But we had a good time, as Robert can attest. We had a great time. Ashton was there also. We can attest. We had a fantastic time. I felt so accomplished. We had to do so much that we had to get scene 2. Which was the opening sequence. We had to get scene 11, which we already did. We had to go to a whole nother location to finish up, the sequence of scene 2, which is the opening sequence. So we had a lot to do on the very first day, but that 100% paled in comparison to when we finally got out to filming at the middle school. Now, this is where, like I said, there are people who come into your life who you never knew before, and you never knew how important that they were going to be to you. Not only, is this guy a really good friend now, as we've gotten to know each other a lot more over the filming course of not only the pilot episode, but also as being part of a lot of the prequel episode. But I mentioned Jody before introduced me to a couple people, and one of the first people that she introduced me to that was so important was Robert Donaldson. This guy, let me tell you, he is the everything guy. He's the guy who's willing to kind of do whatever it is you need him to do. He's always asking, what do you need me to do? Whatever, and literally opening us up, because he does work at the middle school, and that's how we got to be able to film at the middle school. People ask me all the time, like, well, how would I get in if I needed a school? How would I get in there? I said, look, I'm not going to go keep asking Robert to let you film at his school. I asked him, I think, once or twice for other projects. I don't know if it ever happened or not, but, I said I would ask. But I can't let everybody ask, and that's not fair to Robert. That's not, it's just not right, especially if I ended up ever needing to have a school to film at again. I don't want to blow everything off for, productions I have nothing to do with. But what I usually suggest is find somebody who works at the school, make friends with them, and then that's your in. So it's really about who you know. But Robert was fantastic. I mean, Robert was just, I mean, my gosh, as much as Ashton was just a trooper holding that boom mic, and he was. I cannot sing the praises of Ashton anymore. I mean, not only for the pilot episode, the majority of the prequel episodes. Secluded, I think that he did, boom for. I mean, this guy, and listen, I will say this until I'm blue in the face. If you want to know what it's like to do boom, go grab your broom, hold it over your head like this, and just hold it there. And just try to hold it there as long as you possibly can. And don't move, don't move a muscle, because if you move a muscle, that microphone is going to hear it. And as such, when you're editing or whatnot, you're going to hear it. This kid, I can't even count the hours that he held that boom mic. There has been a couple times where, Ashton would come on set, and it's one of my favorite things to say about Ashton.
Oh my gosh.
Ashton would come on set, and he first thing he would say, I got like 2 hours sleep last night. That's it. I got about 2 hours of sleep. Okay, Ashton, that sucks, because you're going to be like holding that boom mic all day. But let me tell you, there's been a couple of times, one time most specifically, but there's been a couple times where, Ashton was trying to crash. But there was one time in particular that Ashton's holding the boom mic above his head, and he's like legit sleeping. Like, I'm not kidding. He's holding the boom, and it's still like, we were listening, and there's no sound. He's just in there, it's holding the boom mic over, basically holding the boom mic on his head itself. He's got his head propped to his hand which is hold it up, and then he's got the other arm just kind of holding the other end. And I don't understand how in the hell he did that, but he did. And and we eventually had to wake him up, but still, like we're just sitting there filming, and I look over, and there's that. I mean, literally, and I wish I could remember the exact scene that it happened in. It was in the pilot episode, and I don't remember the exact scene. It might have been when we were doing the cast posting. I don't remember. I remember it was out in the hallway.
I think I do remember. It was I think it was when we had the camera facing Andy and Ella. That's when they I think they were talking about like, hey, and Andy was all nervous and stuff, and Ella was like, hey, don't worry about it. I think it was that scene that happened.
It could have been. I really don't remember. I just remember, again, looking over there with Ashton with his head on his hand, holding the lower end of the boom, and his other hand holding the higher end of the boom, and just holding it straight, and basically sleeping just dreaming. He wasn't snoring or anything. He was just very quiet and just standing there. Like it was. You know how like when they say cows sleep standing up because they can lock their knees? I think that Ashton locked his knees and was able to just stand up somehow. I don't know how. I would have fallen right over. But hey, kudos to Ashton. But again, for as great as Ashton was doing Boom, Robert really, I mean, above and beyond anything that I could have ever hoped for, imagined for, and whatnot. And I say that because Ashton, again, had a very specific job to do, and he knew what the job was. Robert had a lot of jobs. He was my right-hand man a lot of the times. He was the guy who was running around helping set up the scenes a lot of the times. He was helping the actors. He was opening doors. He was doing this. He was doing that, turning lights on. I mean, moving lights around. He was the everything guy. And listen, especially on Indie World, but and any budget film, I don't care. You have to have that type of person that can just do anything and everything that you need him to do. But especially in Indie World, that is the guy that you need to have with you at all times, because he not only saved a lot of the production. I mean, again, let's be honest. This show and what we were able to accomplish with this show would have never happened if it had not been for this guy. And not even just allowing us to film in the school that he worked in, but also helping us make the connection over at the high school to be able to film on their stage. And that, again, is all Robert pretty much. So, going back, Jody, eventually she had to drop out of the production overall. My nose is kind of starting to twinge up a little with all this dust and stuff, but literally this would not have happened, even remotely close to have happened, without Robert, and even with the prequel stuff, because Andy's whole episode also took place at the middle school, and so again, you have to have a guy like this. You just do. But some of the challenges of filming at a middle school, especially when it's supposed to be a high school, is that the locker sizes are a lot different. Whenever you're filming at a middle school, the locker sizes are different. So, we try to avoid locker scenes as much as we could. We had the one big shot that was right before the cast posting where, the Rejects kind of got together, and then Lizzie came running down the hallway. That was probably the main shot that we got of the lockers, but it worked out. It was okay, and it had some continuity in Clay's episode of the prequel series, because we, again, filmed in the middle school, so it was okay. But the other challenge is setting up the scenes in the different hallways. Because you don't want them to all look the same. It's almost like, okay, well, they just filmed in the same hallway and just did a different angle or whatever. Like, we were going around just trying to find different hallways that we could film in for whatever scenes that we needed to film, and scenes in. And, again, it's just, testament to everybody and the people who was the creatives that said, hey, let's film here, let's film there. And in the classrooms, things like that we needed for not only, again, the scenes from the pilot episode, but the scenes for the prequel episodes that we had to film. So it's kind of like, it was kind of difficult. But I will say that the most difficult scene that we had to film was the cast list posting scene, because a couple different reasons. There's a lot of different elements to that scene. It's a long scene. And there's a lot of different elements. Like Miss Allison has to come out. She's got to post up the thing on the wall. Then the clique members have to go up and they read things at first. And it would have made it a little bit easier if some of the cast members didn't have to leave. Look, these people aren't paid. They're not contracted. So you have to be able to have some leniency to allow them to leave because they have other projects or they have other things that they got to do. In one particular case, one of the cast members, Samantha, who played Natalie, she was filming her own thing, and whatnot. So we told her like, well, we're going to be filming from here to here. So she worked out her schedule to film from here to here, but she also had her own project to go film later that night. So, and she had about a 2-hour drive. So, we had to kind of, you have to work around it and everything. So when we were filming, not only was it challenging because we had to let some of the actors go, and then we had to, figure out, it's like, okay, well, they're gone. They should have been standing here if they're coming up and looking at the same posting. We figured it out. Like I said, you could, if you really watch, when you watch the pilot episode, you could probably notice it. But it's not so bad. No, it's not so bad to where it was just like, oh my god, so bad of how that looks. But if you really pay attention to it, you will notice. But that was probably the most challenging scene. The other part was difficult for a lot of people. These film dates, because we only had so many days to film in. These are long days, and don't get me wrong. In big budget films, you also have very long days because especially in TV series, you have about the same amount of time to film one episode as we did to film our episode. So that wasn't really all that different. But us having to do all of the work ourselves, I mean, literally, when I say we worked 12, 15 hours, I mean, there was at least a couple days I remember going, yeah, I haven't gone to the bathroom yet. Like we were done for the day, and I'm like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. It's like, you haven't gone to the bathroom? Like, I haven't gone at all today, at all. And so that was, again, it was challenging. When we were supposed to have lunch, we weren't having lunch. We were setting up for the next scene. We allowed the actors, we allowed them to go, and we allowed them to have their breaks and their stuff that they needed because we don't want to like crush them or anything. But at the same time, we had a job to do. We had to get a lot of stuff done. So like literally, our call time was like 7 a.m. and we got out of there one night at like 1 a.m. something like that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like that for the majority of the time. So filming a 40-minute series episode, in 6 days, especially without having the big crew, is really difficult. And especially because it's for the most part all of our first times filming something like that. So and that's what's going to happen. And then you have on the other side, you have the when we filmed the in memoriam scene. There's an in memoriam scene. One of the characters has a friend who passed, and so and I forget who did. I don't know if it was Angel. I know my wife was part of it in some respects, but we needed to have a memorial thing set up in the school because this one kind of serious scene where Jackson is remembering his friend. And it was this thing. You think about it. If you're in a school and somebody dies tragically or whatever, just dies, not even tragically, but just dies. Usually it's tragic, but a lot of people set up a memorial for them, and whatnot. Well, in this particular case, we filmed this memorial scene. It's like out in the hallway. We filmed that, no problem, and then we went and we filmed it inside. And when we filmed it inside we got it, it was the gymnasium, and Justin was the director of photography, like I said, and he would wheel and again, we don't have track and things like that, to be able to like do this, so it's all wheels. We had the wheels for the camera, and when he did it, he was pulling the camera all the way back across the gymnasium floor, all the way to the other side, and the actors doing their thing, walking. Well, the original cut of this scene was supposed to be basically like they're walking through there, some music playing, blah blah blah, and then they jump up onto the stage. It's like a stage in the gym, and they jump up on the stage. Well, then Ella, who is played by Madison, she's shorter, so she was actually supposed to trip up well, as she jumps up on the stage, she's supposed to trip and help break up the seriousness of what is going on. And the funniest thing happened. I got to show this to you. It's the first time that I think anybody outside of us has ever seen this. I got to show this to you, Robert. If you're still watching, this will bring back some fun memories for you. I know it does every time I watch it. But we just had gotten done telling the actors, all of them, because they all had to, all the ones who were involved in that scene, they all had to jump up onto the stage, and we just got done telling them, look, you guys need to be very careful when you jump up on that stage because we don't want anybody to get hurt, especially Madison. You're the one supposed to fall, so be careful of what you're doing, and everything. So this is actually what it ended up happening. When we tried to tell them, hey, be careful.
Scene 13D, take one.
And that sound you hear is Ashton getting the boom mic set. So if you're wondering what that noise is, that's a boom mic. So you can see the actors are going, what is going on? And that, and let me tell you something. I'm going to play it one more time. Madison is the person in the back, the last person, and she's the last one. So she's supposed to be the last one that goes up there, and she trips. She's supposed to trip and fall. I got just done telling everybody, hey, make sure you guys are being very careful. Well, Ryland makes it up there fine. Ryland's in the peach shirt, and then Noelle, who plays Maybelle, is in has the the dark bluish black backpack with the white shirt on, and then Matthew Foley plays Andy. He's in the gray and blue coat with a blue backpack, and then Madison's with the ponytail. And so Madison is supposed to be one who falls. Well, then again, literally before the film started rolling, I just said, make sure you guys are all careful jumping up there, and then this happens. Now, you can see Ryland's face right here. This went on for 30 minutes of us laughing. This was at 11:30 at night. We were all exhausted. We were just so tired. It was unbelievable. And that right there, and I wish that Justin didn't cut the camera off because, being a good director of photography, he's just trying not to, he's trying to get back to the next scene and go because we're so late. And we all were dying laughing. The laughter went on for over 30 minutes. It was so good. I mean, wow, was that one of the funniest things. Yes, it provided, as Robert said, it provided some much needed comic relief because we were exhausted. But it was, again, very, very funny to have that happen. You remember that, Ashton?
Oh, definitely. I kind of wish that if we had like a director's cut or like deleted scenes that we could like put like on a DVD or something, I wish we could put that on there.
That's one of those definite, when you're watching a blooper reel, that's perfect blooper reel material. Right,
exactly.
Right there. So, so we had all of that. Then we went over to film over on a stage over at the high school. It's a whole nother night. And this was actually the most, I don't want to say the most challenging, but probably the most challenging part of the entire filming process because we had two musical numbers that we had to film with essentially two different casts. Although some of the cast members were in both numbers, but really you had the Click members who were doing the Flying Blind production number, and then you had the Rejects doing Silhouette. And that was a whole tricky thing because we had to get the music, and the music that we played on the track itself originally is a rock track. It's a rock. It's rock. As a matter of fact, here I'll play it for you. I'll show you what I mean. It's a rock track. I mean, it's not even. It's not made for a musical at all. It's a rock track. So you have that, right? And so then I again, from Jody, the second person that became extremely important in my world that Jody introduced me to was a gentleman. His name is Graham. His name is Graham Mark Dowdy, and Graham, musical composer. He's in a band, musician, artist. I mean, really kind of a very interesting guy to talk to, and everything. So I asked him. I was like, could you take this rock track and make it a little bit more musical theater? And he said, sure. So he did. So he took what you just heard, that Flying Blind, and you could hear it was a guy who was singing it, which, again, guy, girl, whatever. But it was a guy who was singing it, and then he turned it into this.
I walk this path alone, a self-inflicted isolation to sort through my brain. No matter where I roam, I'm always looking for elation.
So you have that, and so again, it was so different, and whatnot. But then you have to take that and you have to turn it into an element of, again, a musical theater scene on there. So I had to come up with a basic back storyline. And this basic back storyline was, something about some demons and this girl whose path is lost in the world, and she's got to figure out, so I had to come up with this because we actually reached out to a friend of mine who is a choreographer. Her name is Allison Lee. And Allison, I said, Allison, I was like, I need a choreographer who can not only come up with dance for Flying Blind, but also for Silhouette, and they have to be completely different. Because the themings are completely different. Silhouette is a very happy, song, and Flying Blind is, a little bit more dark and evil. So, it was kind of such a contrast, and it was done purposely, obviously, with the Click being the Click, and the Rejects being a little bit more upbeat. So, it had to be completely different. So, Allison did awesome, and I believe actually I'm gonna have Allison on the Q&A before the Rejects Club pilot episode on Monday the 20th. So I think that I have her already booked for that. So I'll ask her some questions about that. But she brought on a friend of hers. His name is Buddy Stotts, and Buddy actually was a choreographer on Broadway. So I'm not going, oh my God! Not only Graham, who is in his world, he's kind of a big deal, and his father's a really big deal. They have their own production studio, and they have a whole thing. This is like big time people for me. For this little idea that Madison came up with to help her with afterwards. This is a big deal. I'm going, oh my God, we're actually doing this, And so, so Graham did his thing. We actually ended up recording vocal tracks about a month after, which we actually should have done it the reverse way, but we didn't. We did the dance choreography stuff first, and then we did the other part of it. But you guys, you get the basic idea that we had to do the vocal track recording, and then that. But that was the whole thing. So these kids, they got the video from Allison. They gave them the basic dance moves of what they were supposed to do for both numbers. And then the night before we filmed, which we were filming on a Saturday, so it was Friday night, we got all the kids together, and Allison would work on them with the dance on one group, and then we had Adam Mayer, who was our music director, and he would work on the music with all the kids on harmonizing and make sure that was all good. And there was so much going on. I mean, it was mind blowing. We set up 5 cameras in the audience. We did all the close ups. We did the mid shots. We did all that on Saturday afternoon, and then Saturday night we actually brought in a bunch of background people who sat in the audience. So when we got the wide shots, it looked like there was an actual audience standing there. And actually we ended up filming a couple scenes that didn't make the final cut. Partially because of the lighting. We should have did better with the lighting on it, to be honest with you. But as an example, I can kind of show this to you really quick. Is there's a scene here, and it's kind of funny. You'll see Robert. You'll actually see Robert there. He's actually gonna be holding the there he is. There's Robert right there. You can see him holding the clapper. So he's that, and this is the other Ashton. We had 2 Ashtons, which is really weird. I've never met an Ashton before in my life, and here we had 2. One that was a male and one that was a female. Go figure. But this is the other Ashton, and so she played Miss Allison in the show. And so we're supposed to have it where some parts of the scene she's watching the Click members do that, but we end up having to cut it because you see the lighting is really, really challenging. There's Ryan Manley's mom sitting there, and but yeah, we had all these all these backgrounds. These are some of the background actors that we had throughout, like some of the kids and all this kind of thing. So we're doing this whole stage thing. I mean, you can see it was just crazy. They were reacting, and she was back there, as a musical director would. She's back there she's doing her stuff. So it's so wild to watch back to this stuff. It's pretty crazy. And then there's another part of the scene that was cut, which is I don't remember if this is it or not. We'll see what this is. Hopefully it's not like some nudity or something going on. No, I think this is right. So this was you can see this is Madison and Matthew plays Ella and Andy. They're sitting at the front of the stage, and they're supposed to be watching it, so like while Miss Allison's in the back watching it, they're watching it from their seats, but we just felt that it was better just to focus on the actual performance as opposed to worrying about showing them in the audience. Saying if we would have added them in there, it would probably been like stuff like that, whenever the audience was clapping and whatnot. So there was that, and then a couple other things I just want to show you really quick that I found kind of funny is that, and I can't play the audio for it because YouTube and Facebook get really freaky about like playing audio like that's tracks. But if you ever wanted to see what it's like to warm up for actors, especially theater actors, this is part of their warm ups that they do. So this is and we had a couple dance captains, Miss Kristen Dickey, who is right here in the gray, and then Miss Emma Pastorius. And they both had roles in the show itself. They played Rejects, but they were also in the show. But I had them as dance captains, so that way Allison and Buddy could focus more on the dance stuff, and they can kind of help with things like this, getting warm ups done, and all that kind of stuff. So this is actually just them warming up. There's music playing, they have music playing. There's Allison walking across the stage right now, so you can see her. She's just kind of doing her stuff, and so they keep warming up. There's Zach and all kinds of things going on, and so this is what actors do, and this is the stuff that they have to go through, and in this particular case, because it is a musical kind of a show, this type of stuff that we had going on. We were testing out lighting in the background. You can see we're testing out lighting, all that kind of fun stuff. So it's again, I think for what we're trying to show on this particular episode, meaning myself and Ashton sitting here talking to you, is the stuff that we went through to film. And then once all the filming was done, once it was all completed, once we were we had all of the scenes and stuff shot, and and then we had to go into the editing process, and that's where Ashton really started, coming in play on the other side, because once he's done holding the boom, he went in there and did the editing. So what's that like, Ashton? What's it like to edit?
Well, it's very time consuming and makes you go insane sometimes. I'll say that. Not to deter anyone, but it definitely takes a lot of mental strength to really sit down and work on something that's around 45 minutes runtime. That will take you a month to actually finish it, and that doesn't include like any. All I did back then was basic color correcting, was maybe like boost the whites a little bit more, but that was about it. If I had to do that, like actual, that would probably take me maybe another few weeks or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the worst part is, especially when you play a crucial role like the boom mic operator, and it definitely gives you a lot of time to really go like, did I really do that? It makes you beat yourself up about how bad you actually did, but it's actually helped me a lot figuring out what I need to do better with holding up the boom mic and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, and again, you did a great job. I have no complaints whatsoever. I mean, look, it's not an easy thing. It's a very challenging world that we live in, and that sort of thing. But ultimately, again, we learned a lot from the process. We learned a lot from everything that we needed to do to make things better. For future productions. I got better at doing the directing thing. I hope. Hopefully. Kind of a thing. It's always been interesting to me, like when these kids have done interviews and done different things, especially away from me, and they get asked like, what was it like to be directed by by me and that sort of thing. It's humbling. It is, because like for the most part, I think that everybody had a good thing to say, and that was that was great, and and I loved all of them. I really do. They're like my family. All of it. Everybody who has been a part of this show is like family to me. I would do damn near anything for all of them. That's just the truth. That's just how it is. And I will always feel that way no matter what may end up happening with this show, whether if it's never shown or never produced as and ever moving forward, or whether if it takes off in some manner, and and a lot of them may not be a part of it at this point, only because, not because they don't want to. Some of them might just aged out from being high schoolers. Even though if you could always pull from Beverly Hills 90210, most of the kids were like mid-20s, and and they were still playing high schoolers. So hey, you just never know. But right now I'm just trying to get the show sold and try to get it out there. But like I said, the cool thing is that on Monday, April 13th, the day after Easter, starting that night, we're gonna play the Ella episode on that Monday night. Tuesday night is going to be Andy. Wednesday night is going to be Jackson. Thursday night is going to be Natalie. Friday night is going to be Jace. Saturday night is going to be Clay. Sunday night is going to be Maybell. And then Monday the 20th, we're going to play the pilot episode, which, to kind of end this episode, I'm going to actually play for you the theater scene that we just showed you, and give you what that was like, and let you see Flying Blind, how you would see it come next Monday night. So check this out.
I walk this path alone, a self-inflicted isolation, to sort through my brain. No matter where I roam, I'm always looking for elation to keep me sane. Another demon infiltrates my soul to darken my life, searching for reason, destiny untold.
chaos all around. A few more chances to fall victim.
To ties that bind me.
I move without a sound. Another act of desperation.
To try and find me. Another demon infiltrates my soul. To darken my life. Searching for reason. Destiny untold. I'm flying blind. And through all the wrong and all the right that I have come to make, resides a foundation that will decide my fate. Another demon infiltrates my soul to darken my life. Searching for reason, destiny untold. I'm flying blind. Ooh, come fly with me. I'm flying blind.
Now that's what I'm talking about. So proud of that. I am so proud of that. You have no idea just how proud of that. I really, honestly, God, truly am. And again, that's why I say I am so thankful for everybody who's been a part of it, everybody who's helped with it in whatever manner speaking that you helped in it. And, you know, from, again, the bottom of my heart to the bottom of everybody's heart who's been a part of it, we are happy, blessed, and thankful for every single person who has been a part of the Rejects Club. And we hope that you guys come and watch it starting on Monday, April 13th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be playing all the episodes. We're going to have live Q&As beforehand. Just to, you know, give some, you know, time to the actors who are part of it. And then the following Monday night, the 20th, we'll be showing that pilot episode that you just saw. We'll be showing that whole episode in its entirety. And yeah, it's just going to be an amazing time. So hopefully you guys will come and join us for that. Ashton, any final words?
I guess I just want to thank you for letting me be part of this. From literally the first time we actually met was in a Starbucks little area outside Starbucks, that signing non-disclosure forms, to now having a full thing that's gonna eventually be released to the public. I mean, this is just baffling for just someone who been making making little films from like since I was 5.
Right.
I mean, it's just super weird. And I mean, before this, I never even touched a boom mic, and most of the time, it felt so weird because I thought I was gonna get some sort of training on how to do it, but it was like, here's a boom mic, you hold it, and I'm like, okay, but it worked out.
And
I
that's
mean,
what
what
you
you
did.
say?
And that's what you did. You held it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound hard at all, but once you get into the more technical stuff, it does actually. It's a bit difficult.
Yeah, I totally understand. Trust me, I tried to do it a couple of times, and it is not easy. Just so you guys know, tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, I'm going to be back live here with Mr. Jerome Beezer. Jerome played Joel in the Clay episode, and Mr. Keegan Melton, who played young Mac in the Jackson and Jace episodes. We're going to have those guys on tomorrow. So for that, from Ashton and myself, thank you guys for coming and watching. We'll see you back tomorrow. That's all I got. I probably should have had some music queued up, but you know what? I didn't. Here's
Hey, we'll roll with it.
yeah, I think this might. Maybe I'll play. I don't know if this is the original version of Silhouette or not. Not the non-theater version, but we'll play this to head
Let me
out.
tell you.
I think it is. So, all right. See you guys later.
See ya.
You say, do you wanna dance? Knowing damn well you missed out on your chance. Yes, more than chance. You know it's more than circumstance. And I don't wanna know why you're up here getting so close. Yeah, you know you chose, and now you're just a ghost. And I can't see through the things that you do. I'm seeing watercolor sunsets in your silhouette. It's on replay in my head, and now I cannot forget how you said hello, how you kissed me goodbye. Now time is running out like sand. I watch as it slips right through my hands. And yes, I will be alright, but I won't sleep tonight.